She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head, and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart at their first sight, she'll rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey y'all, I'm so glad y'all are here and you're listening to the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native, and I'm also a singer-songwriter. This week, I'll be going over some community events for November the 18th through the 24th, and for our old news segment, I thought I'd read a Thanksgiving story that I found in the St. Andrews Bay News in 1929. This week, I'm really happy to welcome Garrett J. Brown to the show. Garrett currently lives in Austin. He's from Panama City, and he was recently here to play at the Panama City Songwriters Festival. I had a great time talking to Garrett, and I think you'll enjoy our conversation as well. So, y'all, get your warm drink, get your fuzzy socks, and enjoy the show. There is so much going on in St. Andrews this week, y'all. So let's start with tonight, Thursday. There's Sunset Yoga with Amanda at Oaks by the Bay Park, and she starts at 6:30. This is brought to you by Panama City Quality of Life Department. And then at 6 o'clock, I will be playing for y'all at the Tap Room. They've got a great selection of beer. They've got wonderful bartenders. They have beautiful fire pits. Please, after yoga, come over to the Tap Room. I would love to meet y'all. Also, tonight, Panama City Comedy is hosting Comedy Night at the House of Bourbon starting at 7:30. There is a $10 cover, and the doors open at 7. So moving on to Friday night. This Friday night, join Megan and friends at Come Find All Kinds of Interesting Creations. The vendors will be there starting at 5. Also Friday night, the Sock Rock Band is playing for you at the House of Bourbon, and I believe they start at 7:30. They've got great cocktails, they've got a big dance floor, there's the view of St. Andrews Bay. If you go to the House of Bourbon, I'm sure you'll have a great time. This Saturday morning is the market at St. Andrews, and they start at 8 a.m. There's live music that starts at 10 a.m., and there's also food trucks, arts and crafts vendors. This is a great chance for you to shop locally for all your holiday gifts. One of my favorite musicians, Anthony Peebles, is playing his wonderful songs at Little Village. He starts at 1 p.m., and this might be another chance for you to do some more holiday shopping. Now, my favorite 80s cover band, De Nouveau, is also playing at Tap Room this Saturday night, and they start at 6 p.m. All right, and of course, Monday is Monday Night Little Fest. This is a weekly showcase for local musicians. I'm not sure who's hosting this week, but they usually get started about 6 o'clock, so go drink you a beer this Monday and enjoy some music. Everyone is invited to join the Historical Society of Bay County on Monday, November 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Bay County Public Library. The Historical Society of Bay County is pleased to host Nancy Hudson and her presentation entitled George and Lillian West, Like You've Never Known Them Before. Nancy Hudson is the author of George Mortimer West, His Path in History. Nancy revealed a peek at her new program when she said, "We've all heard of founding father, newspaper publisher, railroad executive, but there is so much more to George West and his third wife, the extraordinary Lillian West. Hear about George's life from his own words. Admission is free, and the address is 898 West 11th Street, Panama City." Tuesday is a great day to see the new exhibit at the Panama City Publishing Museum. November is Native American Heritage Month, and the gallery wall exhibit at the Panama City Publishing Company Museum is Native Americans in St. Andrews. Who were they? When were they here? What evidence is left behind? Celebrate the rich and vibrant cultures first in this area. Come check out this introductory exhibit between November 2nd through November 24th. For more information on Native American history on the Gulf Coast, visit our exhibit partner, Native Spirit Museum and Gallery. Also check out the Bay County Public Library Local History Room, visit Oaks by the Bay Park, and download the Florida Stories app. The museum is open Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 o'clock to 5:30, and Saturday mornings from 9 to 1 o'clock. Floriopolis is open to the public every Wednesday from noon to 5. Currently, folks are working on their paintings for Janie's Fence Art and Public Spaces display. Floriopolis provides the paint and the canvas, and you can create your own masterpiece. Speaking of Floriopolis, have you seen the new mural on the side of Sunjammers? It's officially done, and it looks amazing. Thank you so much, Heather Parker and JD Justice, for making St. Andrews even more beautiful. That's all the events I've got for this week. Tune in next week for more. One of the best things about St. Andrews is that you can see live music every day. That's right. There is live music being played somewhere in St. Andrews 7 nights a week. Fortunately, my friend Ken Schaefer creates and publishes a weekly schedule for St. Andrews as well as most of Bay County. Ken's spreadsheet schedule is updated often when there's any changes. Ken also shares individual music events and is walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to supporting live music. Not only does Ken supply the music schedules, but he attends several music performances a week and takes fantastic photos of the musicians. As a working musician myself, I feel blessed to have Ken and his wife Donna as treasured members of our local musical family. Make sure you like and follow Ken's page, Salty Sounds in St. Andrews, and Oh Boy Music on Facebook, so that you'll always know where all the live music will happen. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. We're here today with Garrett J. Brown. Now, Garrett, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. You grew up here in Panama City, and if I got this right, in 2015, you relocated with your band to Austin, and that band is now known as The Matters. What's that been like for you? Catch us up.
Woo! That was wild. Moving together, I think, was very important. It was everybody's option. Everybody decided they wanted to do it. We went out there. I mean, those guys are my brothers. We were able to fight in the trenches, get together, and really learn and grow as we were. Since then, we've had to sort of go our own ways. We've had Alejandro, he's doing great things with some of his other projects. Some people had to move home, what have you. But I don't think we would be where we were if we hadn't done that.
Wonderful. And so how long have you been in Austin now?
Ooh, so 2015, that sounds about right. So yeah, about 6 going on 7 years.
What's it like to be in Austin where everybody's a guitar player?
Whoo! Yeah, that's something else. Here, it was cool because it was like, I was a musician. That's my thing, you know? That's what I bring to the table in any group or conversation. But yeah, in Austin, it's like, oh, you're a musician? Yeah, me too, you know? So is my brother, so is my sister. So there's a lot of competition, but at the same time, there's a lot to grow from that. Just meeting people, they're constantly pushing you. Whether they know it or not, you can just be watching somebody that you admire. And it makes you beg the question, like, why are they better than me? You know, what is it? And then that's what you've got to take to grow.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's always going to be someone better. And that's a beautiful thing.
It's really a great thing. It's a great thing. I get excited when I see somebody who's better.
So I often think of Nashville and New Orleans and Austin as cousin cities for musicians. I think they have a lot of similarities, at least on this side of the country anyway.
Right.
Why Austin as opposed to, say, Nashville or New Orleans?
It's a great question. I don't really know. I don't know why I chose Austin. I liked a lot of the music that was coming out of there at the time, like Gary Clark Jr., Shaky Graves, things like that. I had family in Austin, so I kind of had that support. I could go do Thanksgivings and Christmases, a little help, and then also it just was super cool. Like the city, I went out and visited there and loved.
Awesome. So if you're listening this week, you'll soon learn that Garrett was here to play the Panama City Songwriters Festival. But catch us up more about you personally. How have you been navigating your creative endeavors throughout the pandemic?
All kinds of ways. First, I was doing Twitch, which was wild. I don't do it as much anymore, but I feel bad because I did grow a pretty solid fan base. I was streaming in the mornings, so I was getting a lot of people from Europe, you know, a lot of folks from overseas. That was the first thing I tried. Apart from that, I was all about doing collaborations with artists. I was like, well, let me just really focus on this craft of songwriting since, you know, everybody's going to be doing it. And as soon as we're out of it, we're going to be, you know, flying. So I was just meeting up one-on-one with as many artists as I could just to see if I could really perfect that craft as much as I could.
Awesome. And speaking of songwriting, what is songwriting to you?
It's an expression. It really is. Like if I ever feel torn up about something or happy about something, if I can just get a song written about it, then I can sort of put a punctuation on it and set it aside. And I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to have it just like clouding my brain, because if I ever want to feel that again, I'll just play that song. I'll just listen to that song. It really helps me deal with stuff. I don't know where I would be or what kind of a person I would be if I wasn't able to categorize and catalog those things, those feelings.
Absolutely. They're audible snapshots we make for ourselves.
That's a good way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
And aside from attending college, because did you go to college in between leaving Panama City and going to Austin? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So aside from attending college, why do you believe it was important for you to leave Panama City?
I think that everybody should kind of get out of their comfort zone. Like, we didn't leave because we didn't like it. You know, we love it here. I love it here. It's one of my favorite places in the world, if not my favorite place in the world. But I do feel like it's important to get out of that comfort zone and see how others do it, see how others live. It can be a very valuable experience, and it's the only way you're going to know whether or not you belong where you've been the whole time.
Awesome. But what do you think is the biggest takeaway from having gone and experienced somewhere that's not the comfort zone?
Oh, man. I don't know. It'll just change you. It'll change you as a person. I was talking to somebody who's in Austin, lived in Austin their entire life, and they're thinking about moving elsewhere. They're thinking about moving to Nashville. And I was like, you should do it. You should definitely do it, but you are going to be a different person after a couple of months. You're waking up in a different bed. You're waking up in a different city. Your grocery store isn't the same grocery store. So you have to adapt. And really, I think that's up to everybody to see whether or not they're going to adapt well or not.
So now that you've been in Austin for a hot minute, what do you enjoy most about that place that you think maybe smaller places such as St. Andrews can possibly be inspired by or learn from?
There's a lot. It's all about the experience. That's something that a lot of the venues, the bars, what have you, they take pride in Austin, and that I'm seeing a whole lot of here in Panama City. They're starting to grow, and there's just a whole lot of infrastructure for bands and musicians and artists to grow in that city. If you want a photo shoot, you got 100 different options. There's somebody who's just coming out of college in Austin who's ready to shoot you for next to nothing. Or you can have somebody who shoots Gary Clark Jr. or who has shot Stevie Ray Vaughan. They're all at your fingertips from that level to the other. So it allows you to grow at the pace and rate that you're ready for and that you can afford.
I think that's a wonderful thing to have at your disposal. And I think that St. Andrews, Panama City, Bay County as a whole will eventually get there because people are moving here like wildfire.
It's true. I like to see it. I really do.
Yeah. Do you think you'll stay in Austin or you think you might go somewhere else?
I mean, the end goal, I would love to come back to Panama City. I really would. I'm just not quite done with Austin yet.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you when I will be, but the end result is definitely to end back up here.
It's like a vortex. Everybody ends up back here eventually.
There's just a certain kind of magic, It feels good. People say keep Austin weird, but the weirdest people I've ever met are from here.
Absolutely. And it feels really good to hear people who have left and come back to visit say that because y'all know we've been through a lot with this hurricane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what's something that you wish the public knew about the life of a creative that they might not be aware of?
It is tough and very rewarding at the very same time. One thing that I wish, I compare this a lot. I'm into sports as well. I love to watch football, basketball, what have you. But in sports and athletics, there's a scoreboard. If you want to prove that you're the better team or you're the more deserving team, you just got to put more points on the board. For a creative, there isn't that.
Right.
It's so subjective. And that can be a challenge because you could be putting in twice as much work as the next guy, and for whatever reason, that guy's work is what pops off. It doesn't devalue your own work or what you're doing as a creative. It's just not your time yet. You're just not ready to go up to bat. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that. They're like, well, if you're not creating what you want to create, just keep creating harder. It's like, most of them are creating as much and as hard as they can get. And there's just so many other factors out there.
Absolutely. I think the whole timing and who you know is drastically underestimated.
For sure. There's a lot of luck involved. But you have to have the talent to support it when that time comes.
Absolutely. You got to be the real deal and show up. So let's talk about songwriting for a moment. What do you look for inspiration when you're writing your songs?
I can find inspiration in just about anything, but what I've learned, particularly in this last year, is you can't rely on it. You can't depend on that creative process. The muse will find the deserving. That's what I've really found. And you have to just keep, even when songwriting is super tough and you're uninspired, that's when you're going to get inspired. You're going to be writing trash. You're going to hate everything you're coming out with. And then in verse 2, you say a line and you're like, oh, this is actually what this whole thing is about. And then you can reverse engineer it from there. But you never would have found it if you hadn't pushed through your own judgment.
Absolutely. I like to call that process getting in the stream.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
You kind of have to sort of make yourself available for that situation to happen. And doing that is writing every day.
Yeah. You have to be writing. I've never written a song without an instrument in my hand. I have to have that.
I write in the car.
Ooh.
Yeah. Usually all my songs start in the car or they start like in a waiting room. Like I'm waiting for something.
Are you melody first usually?
No, I write usually both at the same time.
That's the way to do it.
You've got a single, and I really liked it. I've listened to it a few times. It's called Tall Blondes. Did I get that right?
You nailed it.
Awesome. And to me, when I was listening to it, it made me think of Joe Cocker or Delbert McClinton. It had sort of that feeling all right groove to it. Can you tell me what it was like writing and the production part of that song and the whole experience through the creation of that?
It's a wild experience because it was the first time. First of all, it was the first song I wrote post-pandemic. Like we weren't going to work every day anymore, and I was just sitting around, and I was like, I got to try something. So I was really inspired by Bill Withers on that song in particular. That's kind of what I was after. That sort of just like groove, catchy, kind of lighthearted, that feel. And it was the first song I've ever released that I did entirely in my bedroom.
Oh, wow.
I've always gone to large studios and recorded, and it's expensive to do it. I love it. The process is fantastic. But this, I just wanted to see if I could get something just comparable from my own house. And I think I did an okay job.
I think you did a great job because unless you had told me that was a bedroom production, I would have thought that you went to a studio. It sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you.
So is there going to be more?
Yes, that was my trial run. Like I really I haven't pushed it. I'm sure I will by the time this comes out. But yes, that's my go ahead that I can do this. I can get away with it, and I'm going to.
And you absolutely should because it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're experiencing a shift now, and music is primarily consumed on streaming platforms like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, and such. Do you believe that the album in the traditional sense is dead?
I don't think it's dead. I just don't think it's for everybody. A lot of bands will put a lot of time into an album, a lot of time and a lot of money, like we just talked about, and they'll promote this album. They'll put all these songs they've been working on it. They'll release it. They'll get buzz for about a week, and then it's over. Like it just drastically drops off. And then you feel discouraged because you just put your entire life into this thing just for it to be a flash in a pan. So I think that it is a single world, and I think you should keep making singles until your fans are begging for an album, until they're like, we want to hear an album. Then I think it's time. As far as the large artists go, the album format still works for them because people want it. But until you have that need for it, just put out singles and you can really spread out those releases and those drops.
So my musician friends who are listening, I hope you heard that because that was really affirming. So you grew up around here, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you love about St. Andrews?
Everything. I love everything about St. Andrews. It was one of the first places that ever gave me a shot to play, and I don't think I would have gotten that in a lot of places. We played over, where is it? Just in that parking lot. They would set up a stage for Mardi Gras, would play there. That felt like Madison Square Garden when we did it. We had like a residency at the Granite Cafe, which is now Thai Basil.
Yep.
That was very crucial to the development of me as a musician and a performer. And I don't think I would have gotten that same treatment and taken seriously at such a young age had it not been for the environment here in St. Andrews.
If you could play any venue in the world, what venue would it be and why? It's
a great question. I would have to say, whenever I'm playing anything, I always say in my head, this is Madison Square Garden. This is it. I want to bring that energy no matter where I'm at. So it's hard for me to not say Madison Square Garden. Bonnaroo would be a fantastic stage. I've seen so many shows there, and just that festival scene just seems so ripe and conducive for what I want to do. And then the Moody Theater in Austin is definitely a bucket list item.
Those are all some awesome choices. Why Madison Square Gardens, particularly?
It's just kind of that thing, when you're a kid, you always hear about it. That just seems like the apex, the pinnacle, when you can do Madison Square Garden. Like I know Wolfpack independently was able to pack out 2 shows at Madison Square Garden with no representation. They're just completely independent. And I think that was a big like stamp for them. It's like, we did Madison Square Garden and we didn't need help, you know? So that just seems like the pinnacle of performing.
Absolutely. I sort of asked because you're actually the second person who said Madison Square Garden. Mostly everybody says Red Rocks.
Red Rocks would be awesome. It would be.
So Matt Siegel, if you're listening, you're not alone. Somebody else wants to play Madison Square Gardens. Yeah. So when do you think folks might be able to expect more music on your Spotify channel to be coming out?
Very soon, within the next couple of months. That was the trial run. I'm going to see how it goes. I'm already working on some more. And if I'm doing it in my bedroom at my house, I can crank it out so much quicker.
Wonderful. And so, Garrett, thank you so much for taking your time to be here today. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
How can folks follow your journey online and beyond?
Instagram is probably the best place for me. I have a strong following on TikTok, surprisingly, and Facebook for those who aren't interested in either one of those.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a great time while you're here. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty. Y'all excited for Thanksgiving next week? It's one of my most favorite holidays. I'm so excited for my mother's cornbread dressing, carrot souffle, sweet potato pie. My mother is an awesome cook. It's also a very important time to sit back and think about all the people that we're grateful for. I'm grateful for all of y'all. I'm grateful for all of St. Andrews. I could go on and on. So this week, I thought I'd read an article about Thanksgiving that's from the St. Andrews Bay News, and this was published November 19th, 1929. Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day is when our nation tries to pay its heavy debt of gratitude. Thanksgiving Day does not mean to a large number of people anything more than just another day. Some do not rejoice at this time. Neither do they offer up any mode of thanks for the things that are. They are too busily bemoaning the things that are not and probably never will be. Into each life some rain must fall. Some days must be dark and dreary. Even though we know this is true, on the other hand, there is so much to be thankful for. To those of us who possess good health, we should not deplore the prevailing depression that has sapped so much of the finances, business, etc. out of our daily lives. Everything works out for the best, quoted from Henry W. Longfellow's Psalms of Life. Let us be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. This old master struck a keynote in these few lines that have become immortal, which not only inspire hope, but point to a way to be thankful as well. The early pilgrims attended church on Thanksgiving Day to offer up thanks for their homes and deliverance. Then later the day was made a festive occasion when the best dishes they knew how to prepare were served at this time to their friends. They never overlooked a chance to return to Him who had made their homes a possibility. The very riches of blessings are on this country, America. We should return thanks for the peace that is prevalent, for the unstained and undefeated stars and stripes of old glory that so proudly wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thursday, November 28th, has been set aside by the nation as a legal holiday, and when this day arrives, put in the background all the unpleasant things of life and render thanks for those that are given to us. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves, and I hope you'll take your time to visit St. Andrews and bring your family who might be visiting for the holidays. I'd like to thank everyone for pressing play and all the kindness that you've shown to me and the podcast. You might have noticed that every episode is ad-free. Because of your generous donations, I'm able to keep the lights on and also ensure an ad-free experience for everyone. I want to thank everybody so much for everything. If you found any value in these episodes and you'd like to make a one-time donation, please visit our Ko-fi page. I'll link it in the description. We've got some great guests coming up in the following weeks. Next week, we've got Kathy Patterson from Gypsy Beach. Nicole from Lavish Ministries is going to be here. And also the new duo, Jack and Jen, will be here to talk about their new EP that's coming out in February. If you liked our theme song, it was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The rest of the show was written by me and recorded in my music room. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
Red lipstick, so thick, and a push-up bra. Tramp stamp, stretch marks, and a lacy thong, 'cause she's a Jezebel. St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel.